right, welcome to RisePreneurs, another session. We got Shola in the building. So just so you guys know, we're going to do these monthly sessions of Shola, what we going to call it? Consulting 101 with Shola. But hey, I'm not saying you don't get the full consult, but we get to pick her brain for a little bit. If you want full undivided attention with Shola, you have to go find her, click on and get her consulting service. She's amazing. But we're going to start off this new year episode with our monthly check-in consulting with Shola, consulting 101 with Shola, by talking about building your brand and building your business. First, let me say, welcome, Shola. How are you today?
Man, I am good. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to give you guys some drink, and, hopefully just help you get your year wind up the right way and then start it off the right way as well. Look, thank you, Tyrell, for having me.
No problem. And for those who listen to the audio experience, I'll have her on video and I'll try to have the video experience up at one point. It's Shola in her background. You can see how organized this woman is. She got like sticky notes all on the wall. She got ideas and it looks like a whole little mind map going on her back wall.
Yeah.
All right, so building your brand, building your business. I want to get into something that you've created that I think will help, because I know a lot of listeners out here trying to start the new year right with building their brand, building their business. And I think your bio book really dives into this, because you talk about your idea, your brand. Now, there's one interesting thing that I want you to talk about before we dive into some of the concepts of your bio book is the holistic approach to entrepreneurship. Now, why do you say the holistic approach to entrepreneurship? This is something new that I don't think I've heard before anywhere else, having a holistic approach to entrepreneurship. What does that mean?
Okay, so I'm just going to give you a brief description of bio book. Basically, it's about the overall well-being, right, of an entrepreneur as they embark on their entrepreneurship journey. See, being an entrepreneur is just not just about having an idea and then executing it. There's so much more to it. There's so much more that you become by taking that step, making that decision to put everything into something that no one has seen or might not even believe in, to make it a success. I'm writing another book now, and then I'm like, there's a certain level of psychosis that you get to as an entrepreneur, especially when things are not going the way you want, or you reach a sale gate, or, there's like a massive hurdle on your wall. I mean, most entrepreneurs usually feel this, especially when they're trying to raise capital. But the whole thing about this book is that, number one, you need support. Throughout my book, we have something called a mentor and self-awareness, emotional intelligence checkpoint. You need to do that. You need to have a mentor to guide you through the steps and hold you accountable. So the way I want people to see entrepreneurship is not just like, a pathway to me becoming, a successful person. It's the whole thing, what it does to you as a person, how it makes you grow. For me, entrepreneurship was my vehicle for growth, for mental wellness. It really pushed me to the brink of so much, but I'm still here. It's like I've gone through the worst already. I'm not afraid of anything anymore. So that's what I want people to understand, that there's a whole picture when it comes to entrepreneurship, aside from the whole standard, structure that you have to go through to become an entrepreneur. But that whole living as an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur, speaking like one, becoming someone that actually gives back once you've reached a certain point, that's a whole view. That's a holistic view. It's all about wellness and your well-being. And that has to be on the forefront when you start your entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, you know what? I like that you said that. And when you said it, it made me remind myself, because I'm starting to work out this week. Speaking of holistic view, is like when you exercise a muscle, right? You take it to that breaking point, and then it heals and it restores and it gets stronger, right? And that's how you get stronger as an entrepreneur, by having that holistic view. So now I see your first chapters and exercises is about you, when everything from self-awareness, social awareness, self-management. Dive into that. Why did you decide to focus on the person and individual when making this book and creating and talking about your brand and building your business? Like, why start there? What was the mindset behind that, and how you came up with that vision and concept?
Well, one thing is that, I realized that I was on a different journey simultaneously. As I was an entrepreneur, as I was owning my own businesses and running my businesses and managing people. And it was very important that you came first, because you are your business. If you're ill, your business is ill. If you're mentally, unfit, your business will not do well. So I realized there was so many correlations to a successful business. And this is why you need to surround yourself with an excellent team, so that your shortcomings, they match up, right? And then they actually cover it up for you more or less. And it was a situation where I realized that if I don't always check in with myself, if I don't manage myself well, if I'm not aware of myself, if I'm not aware of, what's going on socially and with people who are closest to me or beyond me, for instance, thinking about my target audience, I'm not going to be able to motivate myself, and beat things like, for instance, procrastination. Like, how am I going to overcome that when I like to relax and stuff, but I'm like, no, I need to get this work done. So it's important that you get to know yourself better before you get on this journey, and you understand your personality, because you need to know who's going to rub you off the wrong way. And you wonder why, like, hey, why does this person irritate me even when, like, he doesn't have to do anything, just being there. And I'm like, well, this was a personality clash, so all these things were important. And I worked on it after my first failure, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, if I had known all this stuff, I would have made so many different decisions. In fact, this is where I see it, and there's a quote that's in my book, self-awareness allows you to make sure that you get it right the first time. Without it, you're just going to keep making mistakes, and then, you now learn from the mistakes. I'm like, oh, I can't keep doing the same thing. I expect a different result. I need to check myself. It's not about, and this is the thing, to really go on this journey, you cannot be a victim-minded person. I mean, a victim-minded person cannot be a good leader. You need to be someone who reflects. You have to self-reflect. And self-reflecting is not just about sitting down and thinking. It's going on the discovery journey. And that's what entrepreneurship does. And that's why I use that word holistic. You are going to discover so much about yourself, but you need to be aware of it, document it, process it, absorb it, accept it. And then if it's something you can't change, just make a note and move on. You have to keep moving. And that's what this SAEI thing means. That's the journey that you're also taking while you're taking this decision to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So like my auntie used to say, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Absolutely.
And I find that to be key in like entrepreneurs who are great at what they do and entrepreneurs who are kind of like, for lack of better terms, messy, right? They tend to react to everything. And a good entrepreneur who really has self-awareness knows how to take that pause and respond to things instead of react to things. So I love that you said that. So out of everything in the you portion, because I know everything is important, which ones did you find, like, when you're mentoring different entrepreneurs, is the one that comes up the most? Like I see self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, procrastination, relationship management, making connections, personality type, your motivation, motivation activation, passion. Which ones do you see? Because you do a lot of mentorship with entrepreneurs out whether between the REC or here in Miramar College, young entrepreneurs. Which one do you see come up the most, do you say?
Well, to be honest, like everything is important. But if I was going to pick one that I would do without doing the whole thing, it would be the personality type. And that is something that you I mean, even in the corporate world and in the working world, like 9-to-5 space, most HR teams will actually have you do that, a form of it. We know MBTI, that's quite popular with HR managers. And this allows them to identify, what is the best place to put them in the company or in a department, if they're going to rub off the wrong way with, a different personality type. And it's also good for a manager to know, so that if they can identify quickly what the strengths and weaknesses of that person is from their responses. So, for me, personality type is something that people need to actually start looking at. There's the certain set of questions you answer, and based on your result, it would like literally give you, like what your personality is at a point. For instance, and it changes. 5 years ago, I was an ANTP, straight up. But now I've literally evolved to being something else. Like, and I'm an ENTPA, I'm an advocate, which you can tell, I'm an advocate for entrepreneurship. I always have been. And, for people as well, even when they're not advocating for their own selves. Yeah. That's the thing about mentoring, because that's like something that is important. You're like, literally seeing their potential, and you're helping them get from that point that they're in now to sit in their full greatness. And that's not an easy thing to do, but it's always good when they know themselves.
Yeah.
It only works when you really know yourself, and then because then you are open to learning. You're more willing to make the sacrifices you need to do, and do the work that's going to get you to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. I tell entrepreneurs all the time, and my managers all the time or executives I talk about, look, so you got to do the work. There's no shortcut to this, right? You got to do the work on yourself and, with your team. So if you're asking your team to do this and you haven't done it, it doesn't work, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Because they don't understand the change that needs to be made. But go ahead. You look like you was about to go in on something.
Well, I mean, sometimes those moments are necessary, as you know. As we work together, you've seen me go to those places before. There's sometimes when diplomacy is needed. See, that's what self-management is. You need to know when to zip it, and you need to know when to talk. I've found myself now being the CEO of this new company, having to do that consistently. In fact, when I know I've gotten myself too heightened, I send my COO, okay, this is this conversation that needs to be had. Mm-hmm. Can you reach out to this person and do, because that I know that person can become like consistently. She used to be a teacher, so she's learned that art of straight face when you're delivering something. So I'm learning from her, I need to learn how to do this. And it's just self-management comes from pulling and absorbing the best of what you see and making it your own. It's like leadership. There's no playbook for leadership. Every leader is different. I would love to be Steve Jobs, but I'm just not him. So I need to find my way to become or being the best in that set role. So that's one key thing about this journey. It's not easy.
No.
I'm not one of those entrepreneurs that would tell you that, oh man, you're gonna have a ball. I'm like, at the end of the day, all the pain is going to be worth it. That's like what I tell people. Like, there's a lot you have to grow in this process. You're going to learn so much about yourself that it's like you would never survive if you're not open to being that kind of person that is flexible, change, and becomes, transcends where they are right now to become the best of what they can be.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it too, as well. Because I tell people all the time, any journey that you're on in life or achievement that you're on, usually the things that were the hardest to obtain were the best journeys, right? And well worth it, because you come out a better person, hopefully, and you gain so much from it. Now let's jump into your idea. Now, tell me about the your idea section. What is it? What is it about? I know it looks like, what's the big idea? Idea clarity goals, idea viability. Tell me a little bit more about it. What is the idea section, and what does that do for somebody grabbing this book?
Okay, so you got this idea, right? One thing that you need to understand, that ideas are a dime a dozen. The ones that do make it are the ones that get broken down, planned, and executed. And that's what this section is. It's like, brother, I have a book of ideas, but not all of them are ready for the moment in time, or are viable at a particular time. I just jot it down and I just leave it. And then one day I meet someone and I'm like, oh, hey, this thing I wrote down, would work for you. So, when you get ideas on a daily basis, and stuff like, especially someone like me, I believe I'm a conduit. So I'm always receiving. And it's something that you need to be able to, the key in entrepreneurship, what makes you an entrepreneur is putting it down, breaking it down into tangible steps, just like you would with a goal. Mm-hmm. And working your way towards where you want it to go. Researching the market, looking at, okay, has anyone got something similar? Or would anybody be my competitor? And what are they doing to be successful? Why are they not successful? What am I going to change here? So having an idea is not just having that light bulb moment and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just that you have to create a map that's going to take you from what you've just thought of, to making it a reality. So that's why, this section is so important. I mean, first of all, you go through the idea map. Mm-hmm. Once you've gone through the idea map, and there are quite a few exercises and things that you have to pull out and flesh out. It makes you have to think. That's the key thing, thinking. What is your problem? What's the idea? Why is it unique? I believe, how are you going to deliver it? Do you need to IP? Very important. Do you need to patent it? You need to put a trademark, copyright it or something? What is it going to take? What is it going to take financially? And this is another point that people mess up. What would it take financially for you to start this business? If you make it a business, this idea. And then how do you make your first sale? People go around chasing capital. They haven't even thought about, how am I going to get the first dollar, pound, naira, whatever? Like, how am I going to get the first check for what I'm doing? And these are mistakes I've made, by the way. So everything I've got here,
you just you reversed engineer your failures and gave a blueprint, right?
Literally, because this was actually writing this book was a healing process for me, and we'll get there another day. But are you going to collaborate? See, this is something that we need to think about in a community where singularly it's more difficult to do stuff. You need to collaborate. You need to create some groups, and stuff like that, so that you can move like how do I put it? There's more energy when you're in your movement. Because if it's just you get exhausted. Who's going to back you up? Who's going to push you completely? And then sharing the work. That's what I love about collaborations. You're sharing tasks, and that's the key thing of any good manager, learning how to delegate. Yeah. Those are the best managers who end up going on holiday while their workers are still working, price points, like pricing. That took me a while to realize what I was worth consulting. I said, guys, man, at a point in time, I used to charge maybe about $50 an hour. I'm a $500 an hour consultant. So, how did I get from 50 to 500? That wasn't easy. But when you realize that your time is valuable, you now realize that, okay, how do I put that into price? Social media, look, we can't ignore it. It's here to stay. So you need to figure out how to do it. And I'm not that great at it. I can't I can create strategy for it, but to execute it is a pain. But there are people specifically who have a career doing that, So revenue streams, my favorite part. I always tell people, make sure you have 3 revenue streams. So if one is dying, the other 2 can get activated, those kind of things. Then your exit strategy. A lot of entrepreneurs, once I have an exit strategy, I feel better about my business, because I'm just thinking that at what point would I feel satisfied I've done the best that I can for myself to move on? Especially someone, the kind of creative I am. I like running projects, and then once I've gone to a certain point and I know it's gotten traction and it's very successful and pay me back money, guess what? Someone else can take it to the next height. You need to be able to let go, and that's the key thing about getting, especially venture capital. The goal is exit. You need to even think, okay, would it IPO or would it get acquired? And that means from day one, as you're planning your idea, you already need to know who's going to possibly buy it from you. And then, build a company around them. Yeah, you have to build your company around their own ethos, because you don't want a situation where they absorb your company and then disappears, which happens a lot, actually, especially with these big tech companies. If it doesn't match what their culture, they're going to just take what they want, strip for parts, take what they want, and then that's it. But they will have paid you some money, though, which is a good thing.
It's a good thing. But if you want that idea to survive as your lineage, you want to make sure that you build it for it so it can stay intact. But if you're just trying to money exit, then I guess you don't care what they do with it.
Well, yeah, the thing about it is that it depends on what your mission is. The company that we're building right now has a mission specifically for Africa. So if the kind of company that would acquire us would be one that has been trying to figure out how to lay roots and distribution channels in Africa. The only people that can do that are Africans. So if you acquire our company in the next 5 to 10 years, you're looking at absorbing all of that. So the best thing is to look for some kind of vertical company that requires the products or services that we have, that you can add to and offer an upsell. We've already thought about it, a year ago. So those are the kind of things to think about. And the best people to talk to are, people who have been in mergers and acquisition. I did that for about a year. I didn't really find it ethically. It didn't touch, it rubbed my soul wrong in some kind of ways. So but at least the skill set is there. So the key thing is to speak to someone who has literally helped acquire companies, acquire patents, or, has sold their own company, because you need to understand what headspace must you and your team be in. If your team, your core team is looking at having a career for a long term, then they shouldn't be in your company. But if they're looking at, I own equity in this company, I'm going to get a good payday when this thing gets sold, and then in an acquisition situation, it's not just buying, giving you money and walking away. Those are options, but most times they buy it and lock you in the company for a few years before your equity activates. But that's good because you get to work for a bigger company and say a bigger company. So there are different things there that you have to look at. So that's it for ideas. And the last thing on the ideas that I really want to harp on is giving back. Every brand from day one needs to already have a section that gives back, something that is giving back. Because that is a problem with the world today. We have this massive disparity where people are poor. If these companies that are massive had been thinking about giving back from day one, the old 100-year-old, 200-year-old companies, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah.
We would not be where we are today. So it's important that, you create that, that sector, that section, that area, or collaborate with someone that you can consistently give back money to. For instance, now when you're trying to build your startup, I use this platform called Sea Legals, and it's based in the UK. And there's a section there where you can actually donate a portion of your equity and lock it down in your co-founders agreement to a charity of choice.
Nice.
I mean, so that means once your company gets acquired and let's say you get $100 million payday, amen. You end up, you already pre-stated that you're going to give like $1 million out of that to a particular charity. I love that. Like just knowing that, hey, even before we even started, we've already signed up a portion of our stuff to a charity, and the charity that I've looked at is the one that I know I want to work with. So it's something, and they get notified that you've already done that.
I like
so you automatically create a relationship with, a brand, and it just makes you feel good that, hey, you know what, when I succeed, when I succeed, they succeed. So they will ensure that, they're part of that success story as well. So it's something that somebody else is now gunning for you, or, is rooting for you, excuse me. And those are the kind of things that you need to set up. There's a different morale, and there's a different way people will see a company, knowing that even if they ever find out that happened, but before you even made a dime, you've already signed off a big chunk of your equity. So that's something that, I think that people need to think about. But the whole idea, again, not to reuse the word, but it's a robust thing. Your idea is not just, you had this moment and then boom. No, it now spreads up into something completely different. And from all these blocks here, you now build the sections of your business that are very vital.
I love it. I love all of that. So and some key points I want to jump back into is the idea map, and then just really building out like the purpose of this thing, and how are you going to make your first dollar? Because raising money is not making money, right? It's not the same thing. And I love the last point that you touched on about just giving back. I don't know if you ever see me wear these shirts that says decolonizing wealth or decolonizer. So the decolonizing wealth brand is all based upon that fact that if all the top % companies gave 10% of their wealth back to these communities, we would have no such thing as hungry kids. We would have no such thing as homelessness or poverty, because all that wealth will trickle back down, and it can dissolve all those problems. Like it would take away all those problems, where those problems would not be existent anymore. If all it takes is 10% of the top wealthiest companies to give back 10% to these different initiatives, and it can end hunger, all this stuff. And it was a fascinating concept, but I love where you're going with that. So jump right back to the idea map. Now, for break down, does the idea map help you do all these things in clarity? What is an idea map for somebody who's new to this, coming on our podcast for the first time? It's like, they're probably like, idea map, what is that? There's a map out there that'll help me organize my ideas, or it takes me down the road to entrepreneurship. What is this idea map you speak of?
No, thank you for asking me that. I use the term idea map because people tend to use brainstorming, and brainstorming happens a lot, but sometimes nothing happens at the end of it. My idea map is designed for you to chew through your idea, all these parts, so you're like, because you now realize the work is going to take. And at that point is when you need to make a personal decision. Do I have the time for this? Do I have the money for this? Can I do this? There are certain questions here that people do not ask. They don't ask how they're going to make their first dollar. And if you notice in my book, I didn't put how you're going to raise capital, because that has become a massive distraction for founders. Mm-hmm. They don't think about what their business is, how it's going to make money, revenue versus profit. They don't even think about profit. And that's the thing. What do you think your investors are buying into? They're buying into the possibility that you are going to make profit, because that's where they make their money. It's not in the revenue space. Mm-hmm. So these are the things that people need to realize. I chose the word map because a map leads you somewhere. Mm-hmm. A map starts at a point and then you end up at another point. And once you use this method of thinking and processing your thoughts, that's the key thing. Processing your thoughts. Someone like me, I use maps all the time. Like what you see at the back here is how I get things done. If I leave it in my head, with every single other project I have, they just become like a big, bowl of mush. You need to draw it out. You need to visually see it. And that's what I love about this map. You're visually seeing it. You're the one writing. And if you don't have the answer, which happens in some of these sections, you'll be like, oh, I don't know. Guess what? If you really care about this, I want to make it something, you are going to go find out or find someone that can help you out with this, building this map, which again is one of the reasons why I say a mentor or an accountability partner is key in moving forward when you're starting anything. Like for instance, brother, when we started RiseUrbanNation, we didn't know it was going to be what we're already building it to be. Yeah. But because we bounce off each other, and it's like, you have to have someone like that. You have to have someone that you can bounce off. Some people are lucky. It could be their spouse. Some people are lucky. It could be, someone in their family that's interested or their best friend. Mm-hmm. But one thing you need to remember is that person going to move at the same pace as you? Because if they don't, there's a limit, to what they can offer you. So when you're in the same journey with someone, which is why they always advise CEOs, hang out with CEOs, if you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. There's a way you would notice how that person, number one, makes decisions. Number two, takes care of themselves, that you have to take up. And this is the thing about map. A map allows you to see, okay, I'm going to point Z. I'm at point A now. What are the things I need to check off? And this idea map is like check engine. Mm-hmm. So you're checking your engine to see if, I have all the things to go on this journey. And that's what this basically is.
Okay. I like it. So next section of your book is your brand. Now let's break this section down. What are some key things when people get this book that they should pay attention to? And what does this section help you do when we talk about your brand? Because we know the branding is important, but I think a lot of people don't know how to build their brand or what their brand is and how it relates to the business. Right. So break that down for us in your brand section. Like, what are some things that you took away from or learned when you built out the brand section?
Okay, so once you're done with the idea map, you've gotten clarity of your goals and, you're checking the viability of your idea. The next thing is how is it going to look? How will people perceive what I'm doing? And that's something that's very, very important. I've spent a long time in marketing, right? Mm-hmm. And it's branding is a lifestyle. What are people going to feel like in their lives because they've interacted with your brand? If you have a good brand, guess what? Your audience will follow you. And that's something that's important. And you have to be able to bring this, perception of your product or service into a succinct way that would not only draw people in, but will keep them loyal, right? And the best example on this planet examples are Amazon, Apple, even Facebook. You love to hate it, but guess what? You're using it. You have to use it. Yeah. Instagram, we've got now, Clubhouse. We've got lots of things now and Clubhouse hasn't really done much in terms of it, but what their brand is their messaging. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that you can get on a room with some of the most amazing people in the world and have a conversation with that person. I'm just and that's a message already. I don't care what your logo looks like. I just care that it works and does what it says it's going to do. And that's what's important. What will make your brand a success? You need to define it. Be crystal clear about your brand's mission and vision. And you need to be authentic because people can see through a fake, easy. Accountable. You need to make sure there's a system there that holds you accountable for your vision and your mission. guarantee and manage expectations. And that's the thing about brand. Make sure that you're not over promising and under delivering. You need to keep it in check. There's a balance that you need to maintain there. Be consistent. And that it means across all touch points, your brand needs to look the same and make people feel the same, not irritated or annoyed. A brand that makes people feel like laughing is actually better. So, you need something like that. When you see the two golden arches, hey, I'm going to fill up my belly with some McDonald's fries, because I know they've got the best fries. So even if and it happens if I buy a burger somewhere else, guess what? I'm stopping at McDonald's to get my fries from there. Like it's a really weird habit, but that's part of their brand, their chips, and then tell your story. This has become so important that I am very happy this has happened in marketing, because there's nothing like your story. No one can replicate it. No one can replicate the journey you've taken to get to where you're going. You need to infuse that into your brand. And something? It was when I got to know who Steve Jobs was and what he had gone through as an entrepreneur to make Apple what it was, that I appreciated the brand more. So I think founders need to get ready to be prepared to share their pain, and their successes, their happiness, their struggles, their challenge. If you put that somehow into your brand story, it makes it so compelling that because people feel that, this idea that you're like this godlike thing doesn't work. Eventually, people will follow another god. So, why don't you let people see the real, be authentic, right? What makes you unique? Find your unique spot and attach your brand to that. Okay. That's like something that's super important. With Risepreneurs, we have a unique spot. We're like, hey, Africans, man, immigrants, we have a unique target audience, and no one pays attention to. In fact, in the current climate, immigrants have been seen as more or less, criminals. And it's like, no, we're here to make not just our lives better, but to share our culture with you and then show you the best of us.
Yes.
And that's actually what happens. Most of the top 500 companies in the US, for instance, have immigrants running the helm. So contribute to society. Again, I can't stress this enough. Your brand needs to show what you are doing to make the world a better place. Legacy, that's something about a brand. You want a brand that would outlive you till today and for generations to come. We're going to be talking about Apple. We're probably going to be talking about Amazon as well. Guess what?
I don't think we're ever going to stop talking about Apple and Amazon. I think they're going to be around long before our parents. We gone, our siblings gone, our daughters gone. They're going to be around. I think they cemented their market history.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He's built a legacy. Apple has built a legacy. Everyone involved in that company from the onset needs to be proud of themselves. And yes, the visionary is gone, but it's alive.
Yeah.
And it's kicking and creating. And they have an aggressive innovation model. So, they try to make their old items obsolete. That is amazing that, hey, I'm going to make what I created obsolete, and that's why we're hooked on it, because every time you get an iPhone is better than the last one. And that's that's part of their brand. That's part of their ethos, so this is something that people need to think about when building, their brand. Articulate it very well. If you can't, speak to a brand consultant, it's someone like me, so that I can look at the whole picture of what you're trying to deliver, because people care about these things. In fact, it's a your brand and how people perceive it is not something, is a subconscious decision.
Yeah.
So people are deciding what they think about your brand without it being in the forefront. All they need to do is hear someone speak in your company or speak to you before they decide. Why don't you let your brand look so good that they don't even need to speak to someone to convince them? That's what you need to look at when you're thinking about branding and brand strategy and creating a brand that really sings.
I love it. Shola, we could do this on and on all day long, but if people really want to do a deep dive, look, I'm encouraging you to go buy a book to start off your new year, build your brand, build your business, take the holistic approach, and be well. Where can people find you, Shola, and where can they get this bio book?
Well, you can get my book actually on Amazon. You can also get the ebook on my website or the Bible website. So my website, Adesola Akindele.com, or buy a book, biabook.com. So biabook.com. You can reach out to me for a session if you want me to be your mentor as well. We can sit down and have a talk and see what that looks like. Or look for resources that are local to you that you can use as well. I mean, I built this book because of some of the grand mistakes that I made. So I know that it's going to be very useful for you and most entrepreneurs. And the way I've designed is that this is the start. I know that if you go through BuyBook, that it will be a smooth sailing relationship from you and I when I start mentoring you. You made that effort to work on yourself to really make sure that your idea and business is viable. That's what BuyBook will do for you.
Yeah. So, and then you know what? I'm almost afraid to say this, but I think me and Shola might work out a little special agreement for our listeners, for a nice little Risepreneur discount or promo, but we'll let you know what that is when we figure that out. I'm putting her on the spot right now. So, you hate to put a Nigerian on the spot about discounts, but we're going to work something out.
No. Like, this is different, We're Risepreneurs, we want people. That's the whole goal, right? We need to so that before everything, you're going to rise. And I believe this book will help you rise up from where you are right now, just a little bit. And let's take the first, second, third, and fourth and fifth step, because it makes you decide you're going to take this journey. You're going to make this work, and you're doing it the right way. You've got the right tools to start. That's a check engine. Before you go on the journey. So I'm very happy to partner with Risepreneurs, to obviously, allow you to be able to purchase a BuyBook.
Awesome. Well, that's our first session. We're going to try to do these monthly consulting with 101 with Shola on tips that you guys want to know about, help you rise up for the new year in your entrepreneurship journey. Shola.
Yeah, see you. Thanks, Terrell.